Welcome to 2Cents FC. I'm your host, Amobi Okugo, with my guy, L. Each week, we'll be discussing topics from around the soccer world and giving you our unfiltered thoughts and opinions. This week, we have two special guests, PDX co-founder Luke Babson and assistant coach Sonimi Halliday. We'll also be discussing transfer window signings, international window, and U.S. soccer young players in the Champions League. So first and foremost, we'd like to give a warm welcome to our two guests. How you guys doing today?
Doing great. Thank you. Thank you very much for having us on.
Yeah, it's doing really well. Thanks again for having us on.
No, I appreciate it. So for context, I'd love to hear the story of how you guys and L connected, because I remember last week when L was telling me about what you guys are doing. He's like, yeah, we just invested in a team. I was like, wait, who? They're coming on the show next week. I was like, how? So how did everything come around? How did everything come about?
I could probably jump into that just real quick. So as some of you guys may know, we're co-founders me and my business partner, and Amobi too, co-founders in 2Cents Sports, which is a sports media company that we have. And that's owned by another kind of parent company that we have called Billionaire Buzz Ventures. And, just our love for the game, our love for soccer, our love for its expansion in the United States. We wanted to jump on any opportunity we could to invest in teams that are coming up. So we made an investment in Detroit City FC. We've seen a lot of buzz around PDX FC and what they were doing. So I began to kind of engage with them online on Twitter. And really like the spirit, really like what they're doing. I looked them up, did a little research, and really like what they had going on. So we decided to, invest in them as well, invest in their crowdfunding campaign, which I'm sure Luke will go into later in the show. And that's kind of how we kicked it off, just a little online banter, that's all.
The power of social media, huh?
Yeah, we were excited. We've been kind of keeping tabs on like all the different areas that we've had people invest from. Obviously, we've had a lot of local people within Portland or surrounding areas, but we've also seen a lot of different states and areas. And then I think something popped up where the 2Cents FC account said, you gotta add Georgia to the account, and get us on there. And that was, I think, kind of where it popped off, and we communicated a little bit from there. But it's just been super exciting for us to see people pick up on the concept that we're doing and understand it and help our club grow.
That's great. So how did it all start? Selfishly, I'm looking at your book collection, so I definitely want to rap with you about that at some point.
Right.
How did it all start? How did it all come about, like from fruition?
Back in 2017, we started the club. It was originally started by myself and my brother is the other co-founder. And I'd been in Portland area for a while doing a lot of coaching, and my background's more in coaching. I'd had a role like at a college and with different clubs. And then my brother had worked more in media. He'd been actually living like in Miami at the time, working with BN Sports, the TV station. And he happened to move back to Portland area right around 2017. And it was an idea I'd kind of had, but didn't necessarily want to just take on solo or full by myself. So when he moved back and got inspired by it and wanted to get involved, and then we went for it. And so we've been building the club now for just a little over 3 years. I think Sonimi joined on the first season, although I think we picked you up a little bit late in the season as a player to begin with, and was one of like our top players that season, and then the next season, and then started to want to transition his life a little more to coaching. So we're happy to have him on board as well with what we're building. And we didn't get to play our regular league season and this past summer with coronavirus and everything. We did get to participate in one more local tournament just with more Oregon-based teams. But really gearing up and building towards our 2021 season now. And like El said, we were able to introduce a crowdfunding campaign that sells equity in the club, which is still pretty unique for U.S. clubs. And like he mentioned, Detroit City has done it, Chattanooga FC has done it. But we're kind of maybe the third club or so in line and introducing what's a community ownership model for a club in the States.
That's amazing. So for both of you, like, when did you fall in love with soccer? Like, how did it how did you guys get the idea, obviously playing, coaching, and then the love to actually build out a foundation in a club? You know, I know for you, Sonimi, you went from player to player coach to now coach. How did Luke convince you to, you know, stay on board?
You know, when I first came, I'm originally from New Jersey, you know, and I moved out here to Portland about 4 years ago.
North or south?
South Jersey. I appreciate that you recognize that. Like, Jersey split in like 2 different halves, right? It's completely different too. So I appreciate you recognize that.
Much like California.
Similarly, very similarly, just on a lot smaller scale, right? But I'm originally from New Jersey. I moved out here about 4 years ago, and I was still like fresh out of playing, right? I just got finished playing college. I played a year for Philadelphia Fury, and I knew that I wanted to keep the game going and keep soccer. I knew I wanted to keep that a part of me. I just didn't know how, right? So I reached out to Luke, and I noticed that he had this team that was playing in the MPSL, and I was like, this is a great opportunity, right? I played in the PDL. I played a lot in that league, the MPSL also. And I reached out to Luke, and he invited me out for a training session. And I was like on my way home, and I think like before I even got home, he was like, hey, can you like fill out these papers to play this weekend? And I was like, I have like plans this weekend. I got things like, but it worked out, and I was able to play. And unfortunately, it was towards the end of the season, so I only got a little bit of a run in. But that was like the beginning of my step into PDX FC. And next year rolled around, and I decided that I couldn't make the commitment to play that year. But somehow he kind of dropped in my ear to pick up a coaching role, and I couldn't be more excited about it, because that's the exact role that I wanted, you know, and I wanted to continue to learn, and I consider myself a student of the game, right? Similar to probably most of you guys, and it was just the perfect opportunity to keep learning and growing as a coach, and especially under someone like Luke, who's been around the game at so many different levels. So as soon as he offered it, I couldn't turn it away.
No, that's really amazing. And for Luke, you know, Sonimi mentioned you've been at different levels in your coaching career. This is a unique platform right now, because you're giving opportunities to players that, you know, may want to continue playing or may have been overlooked. What's your overall mission with PDX FC, and, you know, your coaching philosophy around your organization?
Yeah, I mean, it really was, when we first started the club, a decision that was based more around providing an opportunity for players, and you know, the bulk of our players do come from our area. We have certain players that have came in from other areas for the season and for those months, but we really saw like a pool of players that were in need of an opportunity and needed a really good training environment. And so that kind of fueled the decision to begin with, as well as, like you said, my background was in coaching. I'd coach at the college level with the women's collegiate program at Western Oregon University. Just coached a lot of club teams, mostly with Eastside Timbers in the Portland, Gresham area. Done stuff with like ODP, Olympic Development Programs, on the boys and girls side. And as well had played quite a bit myself, or was getting past that. So I just kind of knew of this pool of players that were in need of an opportunity, and a lot of the guys are current college players, but then there's also a lot that are either a little bit post-college or have even played professionally, but still want that next pro opportunity, or simply just still have a love for the game. Or we find guys that are special players that aren't with the college program, or, you know, for whatever reason may not have a great training environment if it wasn't for us. And so I think we're important for those reasons.
No, that's a great point, because I remember growing up, my club coach, he had an MPSL team at the time, and even though I was 16, he made me play with those older kids, and just to have that opportunity of a higher competition level, I know you're making a difference for a lot of players' lives. So that's really big on, you know, both your parts.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, I want to kind of jump in there as well. You mentioned you have a lot of experience coaching youth players, right?
Yeah.
So with PDX FC, are you guys looking to kind of build out an academy? And really kind of help develop more players in the area?
It's something we've thought about a little bit. We haven't just full on jumped into that realm. There are a number of quality clubs in the area that I think do that. You have the Portland Timbers Academy. I think what we potentially might look at down the road is, I don't know if I see us having like teams at every single age group, or trying to do kind of what you see with your typical pay to play type club, but we'd like to maybe extend like what we're doing with the first team to a U20, like U19 type team, and keep it funded in some ways. So that kind of differentiates us from what's out there right now. And I think those type of programs are needed. I don't know if we'll see us jump into a full, U10, U12, U14, just full on structure, but you never know. I think we do what maybe we think is needed and what we can provide that would help the area.
Okay, cool. So I know recently U.S. Soccer has kind of introduced like solidarity payments or some form of that.
Yeah.
Is that like a kind of a strategy that you guys may have, like even with that U20 team, developing these guys, maybe getting them, transferred off to a European club or something like that?
Absolutely. That's a goal that we'd love to help in that process for players. And we do have a number of players at the moment that have gone over to some different clubs, whether that's in the US or other countries. Nobody that's demanded like a larger transfer fee or anything like that. But I think that we have a really good pool of players at the moment that could start to push for those kind of opportunities in the future. And I think we just saw with Weston McKinney, FC Dallas, be able to successfully recoup a payment. So those doors are starting to open where they hadn't been previously available, I think, in the US. So it's definitely, a goal of a lot of our players to move on and play at the highest levels they can. And we're trying to continue to create, doors and opportunities for those things to happen. And I think we've seen, especially in the last 6 months, year, a lot of US players start to kind of explode at the international level with big time clubs, and you may see more and more clubs pay attention to the US market. So I think it's good timing to start to push those concepts.
No, so I mean, you guys are both coaches. You guys both played. For this unique group of players that you guys coach and are looking at and develop, for the young player that wants to, potentially get seen or have the opportunity, what qualities should they be focusing on? Because, a lot of players, they see highlights of the stars that they want to emulate, but what qualities do you look for, as a coach? What qualities are important to develop, in terms of, training your skills?
You want to take that one, Sonimi?
Yeah, I can take that one. I think, especially with these young players, and I think nowadays you find players, especially younger ones, who maybe specialize in a certain area, or they think they're only a winger, or they think they're only a central player, or they think they're only a striker or a nine. I think the biggest quality, and I think I'm not the only coach who would argue this, is that we really want players who are flexible and willing to adapt to different situations, right? So a wing back who can play in a holding defensive mid role if we need to, right? Who understands, who has the soccer IQ to play in a various number of roles. So I think that's the biggest, as far as developing your skill, is just developing your ability to play in a number of different roles. I think that's the biggest one for me. What do you think, Luke?
Yeah, I think for me, what I think we're able to help is sometimes certain players. We do need players to be flexible and play different roles, as well as then really teach what we're wanting out of those roles, and helping them, learn and become a better player tactically. A lot of the players we get are pretty advanced technically, so it's not necessarily like I'm out there teaching guys how to have the proper first touch or how to strike a ball. Most of that stuff is there for guys that are good enough to make the group. So I think it's teaching them how we want to play and what sometimes is a short period of time with our season, really laying down what we want to see as a coaching staff, and then working with them on their mentality. I think if these guys do want to push on to the professional level and getting used to some of the things where maybe for the first time with us, they've not started, or they've not made an 18-man roster. which can be the reality for a lot of professional players. And how do you manage that? How do you keep pushing? How do you come back out to training and you know, not let a little, what is really in reality a small setback, not derail you? And how do you develop a mentality that's, I think, going to benefit you at the professional level as you push forward?
No, those are both great points. I really appreciate you saying the mental aspect of it, because it takes a lot of discipline if you want to reach the next level. And then being flexible, not only in the sense of being able to play multiple positions, I would say more in the sense of being able to understand different tactics and being able to understand different styles of play within a coach's system. Because, yeah, you want to be able to specialize in some of your strong suits if you're able to beat someone 1v1, or if you're a good shooter, or if you're a good passer. You want to have, you know, a quality that stands out, but you definitely have to have flexibility in understanding, you know, what qualities you need to succeed at different positions.
For sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, El, you was about to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, so I wanted to jump into this crowdfunding campaign that you guys have. You know, like, let us know how that's going. What you guys are looking to, I don't want to say what you're looking to raise, but you know, what your goals are for raising for the raise, as well as what the process is like, because there may be other teams that, you know, see this show and they may be interested in, you know, raising funds for their team as well. So can you kind of share what the process is like as well, like the setup process, the regulations involved, things like that?
Yeah, it was something that I wanted, to be honest, took advantage of the quarantine period and you know, not having our regular season this year. It left me with a little bit of some extra time to really delve into this. And we'd always thought about it. It was just more, you know, when is the time going to be right to introduce this? And so it was a little bit of a learning curve for me to, like you said, start to understand the legal process and what really needed to get done to make it happen. So, you know, we got in touch with the folks at WeFunder to begin with, just simply because we'd seen, like you mentioned earlier, Detroit City and Chattanooga FC have successful campaigns on there. So there was a certain template to follow, although, you know, we're unique in a lot of our own ways in comparison to those two clubs. And so I just kind of started the process as far as filling out the application with WeFunder. And then I heard back from some of their folks that they thought it was, you know, a really good idea and that they believed could be successful after they kind of did the homework on the club. So that was, you know, encouraging for us to hear, and we started to move forward with it. And then we got the stuff that we needed to get done on the legal side, with bringing an attorney in to craft the different documents and you know, put those pieces together. And then we were able to go live with the crowdfunding campaign about 2 weeks ago, and you know, it's been pretty successful thus far. We've been really, really excited with the response that it's gotten. At the moment, I think we've raised just over $44,000. Our minimum raise goal is $50,000. So it's starting to become, you know, definitely a certainty that we're going to reach that. Just kind of a matter of how much time here. We still have a number of weeks that will be live with the campaign, as well as some other ways that we're going to keep kind of rolling out. You know, some exciting parts about the club and be in the news and kind of keep the momentum rolling here for the next few weeks. And I don't know exactly where it's going to end up, but it's going to be a success for the club, you know, regardless, and help us not only with you know, bringing in some funding that we need just for operations, but it's just created so much momentum in terms of people becoming excited in the club and wanting to follow along and you know, so it's going to create a fan base for us as well that's a lot more into what we're doing, and so it's super exciting times for us. We'll see exactly where, you know, the financial number falls, but right now we have 181 different people that have invested at different levels. The minimum is $100, and then I think the most that an individual has done at the moment is $2,500. So we've had investments come in at any of those levels in between, and it's just been exciting to see, like I said, people from all around the country and lots of locals get excited. A lot of, you know, number of them I recognize names and are people that have supported us in the past, but there's also been a, you know, really good increase in new people wanting to get involved and being really interested in the club and getting excited about the community ownership model.
Yeah, now, I know some people. I know you can go to the WeFunder link, and we'll have that in our show description. and you can read what the different perks are. But can you kind of give us an idea of, what the perks are for those who do invest?
Yeah, we have some, obviously the first part is that it's just real equity ownership within the club. So you're owning a piece of the club depending on how much you choose to invest. But then there's perks at different levels. So for $100, you get a season ticket for the upcoming season, an owner scarf and a certificate. For $200, you get all of those things as well as a lifetime season ticket. So you can, come to the PDX FC games for the rest of your life. And then at the $300 level, it's all those things. Plus, we're getting a custom jersey made by our apparel supplier is Hummel. That'll work in all the different owner names into a unique design that we'll come out with for that jersey. So there's different perks at the $100, $200, and $300 level to go along with obviously just the ownership within the club.
Yeah. So with those equity shares, I guess I should ask, what level of share are they? Because there's different tiers of equity shares in a company. So what privileges do those shares allow an owner to have? What kind of power do they have with those shares? Can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we're doing is just building out a number of different things that we'll do on a yearly basis that all the owners will have an opportunity to vote in. It could be certain things like new jersey designs, different scarves, or stuff that affects the business side of things a lot more. Whether that's who we bring in for a friendly opponent, or lots of different decisions there. So we're really going to work with what'll be like a yearly opportunity for everybody that's invested to have a vote and a say in as many different aspects as the club as possible. We have a board of directors with Sonimi and my brother, who's our other co-founder, that really all we'll do is kind of be there to eventually we have to just kind of sign off on say we do another equity raise at some point, or somebody does offer a large financial sum for the club at some point, and we kind of would have final signature on those type of things. But everything else really will be leaving up to our big ownership group to have a say in and how the club is ran in the future.
Okay. Yeah, to that point, that's an interesting point you bring up about maybe like a larger investor or institutional investor possibly coming in. And even in the event if you guys sell the club, do those ownership shares transfer into a financial gain for those owners who invested? Yeah,
that's ultimately the dream and what we want to strive to create in the long run is drive the value of the club up. And it may reach a point where we all love it so much that we don't want to let go, because that's part of it. If you sell to somebody, do you have that trust factor? Because this is kind of my baby, and it would need to be in the right hands. But at the end of the day, if somebody that is wealthier than I am and can help the club take the next steps wanted to come in at some point, then we'll listen. But it would be we would want the input of all the other owners and investors and figure out what was going to be the best step forward in that kind of situation. So right now we just really want to build the brand, build what we're doing to get to the point where that type of interest could come in. We've had a little bit where I have some conversations coming up this week with a couple investment firms that actually have reached out. So that's been kind of exciting to see that level of interest actually may exist and be there in the future. But it's dependent on if we choose to sell and the rest of our ownership group would want to, but it could happen.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see, what you guys do, what you guys are building. So to that point, where do you guys see PDX FC in the next 5 years and then maybe the next 10 years? Like, what's your grand vision?
Well, we really see the next, big step is can we kind of jump up a division, with our league and then give the players, not necessarily every player on the team, because we'd have a lot of other really talented players come in at that point too. But to take the next step to the professional level, we've looked a lot at the NISA League, which is a new league that has been sanctioned as U.S. Soccer as a Division III professional league. So we've been in some conversations with them, and if we can continue to raise our profile and check a couple of the right boxes in the next couple of years, then that could be a realistic next goal for our team and see PDX FC move to the professional level. think that there's some exciting things about the NISA League in comparison to USL or obviously MLS, where to get into those leagues, you're talking about a franchise fee that's just really, really high. So I think that the NISA League is doing some good stuff right now to build out a professional option for clubs that they would prefer to, put the money that they have into their club and their players and what they're building. And so that's a unique thing that kind of came up that I believe in what that league's offering right now. So we're really keeping our eyes there and, monitoring if that could be the right next step for us. And attracting new owners and investors is obviously a piece of what we would need to do to make that jump.
So, what would you have anything?
No, I just think it's amazing. It's getting me excited. I almost want to start my own club team at some point, So I really appreciate you both sharing more insight into, having a vision and a concept and, actually executing it. It takes a lot of effort, and you guys are doing a great service, not only to the Portland community, which I know loves soccer and loves that sense of building something from the ground up, but for the players that may not have the opportunity to give them an outlet to be seen on a larger scale. So, I commend both of you guys for sure.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of another question I have. Amobi, you mentioned the Portland community, and obviously the timber there. You have timber too. How do you see PDX FC fitting in within that community, and especially as if you guys once you guys move to the professional ranks, in NISA League or whichever league you decide to pick, how do you see PDX FC kind of coexisting with Timbers?
I think what we've noticed is that a lot of the people and almost everybody that supports us is also a Timbers fan. And so I think they've become educated enough in the game to understand that, MLS is the first tier in the US, but there's important levels below that, and they believe in what we're doing and want to follow our group. We haven't yet, but we'd love to see a player from PDX FC, wear the Timbers jersey with the MLS first team. So we try and schedule our matches to not conflict, because we do know that Timbers are going to draw really well, and we don't necessarily want to try and step on their toes or compete with them if we can avoid it. But there just tends to be a lot of crossover between Timbers supporters and now becoming more aware of us. So you kind of have the big Timbers army, is the really big supporters group that has a big presence in Portland, and a lot of those folks are becoming aware of us and supporting PDX FC as well. So we do our best to just kind of not have conflicts when we can avoid it. And we've had certain player, we've had a standout on our team that we identified at 16 or 17 years old that we've then pushed towards the Timbers and joined their academy for their U19 team. So I think they understand that we can be an asset to them in some ways, and we're not, we're certainly open to pushing our players towards them that have the talent. So I think it's a positive that they're in the area, but I think people have just kind of needed to become a little bit more educated on what sits below MLS and the potential that we actually have in this country to keep growing that out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what you guys do. I'm excited to be a part of the project, and happy to, we're happy to be involved in more ways than one. So let's definitely stay in contact, stay in touch, and hopefully we can work some more stuff out together.
Yeah, and I don't think I had a chance to really just thank you for your support and getting on board and following along with what we're doing. So I hope to keep in touch and keep you guys as updated as possible. And it's exciting to hear that maybe we're spurring the imagination of you two or something like that, or listeners out there to do the same thing, because it's been hard work, and I had certain expertise, but it's not not necessarily that special. A lot of people could do this out in their communities if you want to put the time and effort into it, and you have the right heart and you have the right connections. So it's something that I'd like to see people copy, and I'd love to be available to chat more with anybody that has those kind of interests.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely. All right, so did you have anything else, Mo, before I jump into topics?
No, that's good. They've covered everything.
All right, cool. So let's jump into these topics. As you know, during our show, we cover several news topics, whatever is happening in the soccer world, and we kind of give our unfiltered opinions on, what's going on. So I don't know if you guys support any Premier League team or any European teams or anything.
Not officially. I love Liverpool. I love the way they play, and I've watched them for a long time. In the Fernando Torres days, and just a big fan. But nothing. Yeah,
it's weird. I'm not necessarily just a diehard. Like I have one particular team that I feel like, is mine. I love to follow all the Americans that are finding success. So I find myself watching like a lot of Bundesliga games right now, or obviously tuning into Juventus now with Weston and Chelsea, and kind of. So I get really into just kind of following the development of U.S. players. Drives a lot of my interest in watching games.
Yeah, so let's touch on that a little bit. As you mentioned, Weston McKennie got a move to Juventus recently. Of course, Pulisic a couple of years ago with Chelsea. How do you see this new wave of American players moving into these elite European clubs? How do you see that helping the U.S. soccer team or the national team?
I think it's huge, and if you start to even just look at guys that are breaking through right now and becoming starters or first team players with top Bundesliga teams, top EPL teams, top La Liga teams now with Serginho Dest and Conrad at Barcelona. So if you just look at the map at like a potential U.S. starting lineup now or for the upcoming World Cup and the clubs these players are at, it kind of blows anything out of the water that we've seen in the past. So I think that's exciting, and the fact that they're all young. And just imagine if the next crop, like in the next couple of years coming up behind them, are as good or even better. I think we're going to be a better national team, quicker than maybe some people think.
Yeah, so I got a question on that. So do you think it's like we're in a unique time in the sense of like we might have like our own golden generation, or do you think like the development of players in America is getting better, or do you think overseas coaches and scouts and organizations are looking at the American players, as a cheaper option, whereas they can develop talent because of the pay-to-play model, where they can kind of take advantage of, picking someone out that has talent at a younger age and not having to pay an enormous amount of transfer fee.
Yeah, I think it's probably just a number of things. The quality of coaching and the environment over here improving. And then, like you said, just the recognition from clubs outside of the U.S. seeing value in young U.S. players and working to bring them over to their academies, and having a Christian Pulisic or Gio Reyna at Dortmund, guys that broke through at like 16, 17 years old. I think that just kind of sounds the alarm for other clubs to put their research in and pay more attention to our area than they have in the past.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest seller for those guys who are playing over in the European clubs is like they're playing in those leagues and those clubs, but they're also doing really well, a lot of them, right? So they're not sitting and struggling to get minutes on the first team. A lot of them are doing their due diligence and breaking through and having a lot of successes. So I think, like Luke said, that raises a lot of eyebrows and turns a lot of heads to the talent that's being developed here in the country, which is a great thing at the end of the day.
Yeah. And Sonimi, you're from Jersey. So, I mean, Jersey's famous for having a hotbed of young talent. PDA, I know, is like a famous club out there. Obviously, yeah. Most academies that are having their imprint. So this question is for both of you guys. What areas, obviously you guys are in Portland now, what areas would you say like the most overlooked areas for youth talent in terms of in the United States? Because, you got Jersey, you got Cali, you got Dallas. But what areas, if you're a European scout, you're telling them, all right, come to this unique area and start poaching on young talent?
You want to tackle this one first, Luke?
No, you go ahead. I'll follow you up on it.
I'm biased to the East Coast, right? Because that's where I'm from. So part of me wants to say like Philadelphia. I was from close to Philadelphia, but since being here in the Pacific Northwest, there's just such like a boom of players. Like there's so many players in Seattle, the Seattle area, the Portland area. The amount of players and the amount of talent in this area is overwhelming. And that's just talk about like the players who are able to afford to play, right? And we're not like scratching the surface of those players who may not have the equal opportunity to get into a club team, right? So I think really the Pacific Northwest between Seattle and Portland and even that Northern California area could really be a hotbed for scouts and different European coaches. Yeah, that's what I think.
Maybe I'm a little biased. Obviously, I think there's a lot of talent in our area. Most people probably know about, California, Southern California, loaded with a lot of talent. I think especially with FC Dallas, has shown the amount of talent that comes out of the Texas and the Dallas area in particular. So I haven't spent as much time, over on the East Coast. I always hear there's really high level of play. I can't speak as much for myself personally, but I just know more of like our kind of bubble and the talent that exists in more Oregon, Washington areas and the levels that I think a lot of these players are capable of reaching. And but I know that I feel like that's a lot of bases out there, and so that's why clubs like PDX are very important, because we kind of do that work to try and get opportunities for players that are out there, and continue to open those doors. And I just think there's actually a lot more talent here than maybe people have realized. It's just a matter of like the infrastructure and how do you kind of keep pushing these players along to the next levels and to be seen and to have the right training environment.
No, that's great answers. I completely agree. I mean, obviously there's talent everywhere, but some just get overlooked because of infrastructure, opportunities and stuff like that.
So what do you say, Moby? You've been around the country. So what have you identified?
Sacramento, San Joaquin Valley, so Sacramento, Stockton. Like if you just go, like if you take I-5 and go from Sacramento to like Fresno, you can have a whole academy of talent in that region. Denver is a spot that gets overlooked. They have a lot of talent coming out of there, and it's kind of the bigger city, but those are two right off the bat. I know Dallas gets a lot of credit for what they do, but in terms of Texas, like all along the border, and then Houston especially, I feel like that's like an untapped market where they can do a better job of really kind of honing in, because Dallas did a phenomenal job. But Texas is so big, I feel like that's getting overlooked. But the United States is so big, so there's talent everywhere. So we can like go on and on.
Yeah, I'll throw my hat in for Georgia too. Even though I'm a California native, but I live here in Georgia, and especially for women's soccer, like I think Georgia's a pretty kind of a hotbed for women's players.
Okay. So, what's this game? I know we kind of brushed over the topics, but what's this game that you have? I'm excited.
Okay, so I was flipping through Twitter today, and it's something that popped up on the timeline from Joe Football, or Football Joe, actually. It's which table are you sitting at? So pull this up really quick. So we have a lunchroom, and we have 10 tables. So I'll give you guys a second time to look over and tell me what table you're sitting at.
Ooh, this is really good.
This is really good.
That's too big of a table.
This is a toss-up for me between, I think, table 6 and table 10, because I'd love to sit with Pirlo, Xavi, but then, how can you not want to have a seat down with Maradona if you have the opportunity? Ronaldinho in there as well. So
yeah,
maybe
I said,
who knows?
Yeah, I said table 10 initially because it is like a lot of fun over there. Like you may not partake in everything they're partaking in, but yeah, it's definitely a good time.
Right.
Definitely a good time at that table.
Yeah, I gotta find myself a table 4.
Yeah.
With Totti and Maldini and Ronaldo. I was just watching the highlights from the 1996 Olympic World Cup with Nigeria and that Brazil game. It's like, I know it was great. Nigeria won, right? We won, but it was like, man, like Ronaldo was on another level. The entire tournament, another level. So I gotta sit at table 4 for that one.
Yeah, it's such a toss-up. I had table 10, table 4, and then table 6 as well. But I think I gotta go with table 4. Like, cause Maldini, even though it's Italy heavy, Maldini, I would love to ask him some questions, and then Ronaldo, I definitely want to ask him. But Maradona and Ronaldinho on the same table. Yeah.
I'm just there for the stories.
Yeah.
Table.
Yeah. Table 4. I'm going table 4 as well.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, so that was a fun little game came across. But we'll continue game time and jump right into one of our other games that we have in shows called No Card, Yellow Card, Red Card. So this is kind of a rapid fire game where we'll put out some topics and you give your rating, your thoughts on that topic, and rate it with the card system in soccer. So no card obviously is I agree with it. I'm cool with that topic. I like it. Yellow card is I can go either way. It's in the middle. And then obviously red card is I disagree. Foul. Don't like it. So once you give your rating, kind of give like a little explanation of why, and we'll go from there. So let's get started. First one, no card, yellow card, red card. DC United firing Ben Olsen.
Correction. They agreed to part ways mutually.
Man, they fired.
Yeah.
I guess no card for me. I have to be honest, I haven't followed them super closely this season, but business happens. He'll probably get another MLS job if he wants to do that.
Yeah, I err on the side of no card, yellow card, because I think Ben Olsen, I didn't follow him too much, but from his petty record, he looks like he's done a pretty good job, So, but they also haven't made the playoffs. They've been successful in the MLS for during his stint for too long. So, I'd probably err on that no card for that also.
Okay.
Yeah, no foul.
Yeah, I'm going yellow card only because so he's club legend, and they didn't give him the resources like other teams have given their coaches. But he's there forever from a coaching standpoint. Hasn't really seen success outside of a couple playoff runs and some crazy Open Cup run. So it's a long time coming from a performance standpoint. Yeah, like he should be fired for sure. But from a club standpoint of not supporting him, I'm trying to nice. So yellow card.
That's fair.
Okay. So next one, we have no card, yellow card, red card. Welcome to the party. Thomas Partey joins Arsenal in the last minute smash and grab. What do you say?
Okay, I'll say no card because I know Arsenal needed a teammate like desperately, and it shows that although y'all didn't get all the targets that you guys wanted, you guys are slowly trying to build. And I say you guys because El's like a big Arsenal fan. Sorry for context. Like you guys are at least moving towards trying to stay in the top 6, top 8. With some money. Yeah. So yeah, no card. That's good. Good sign.
Yeah, no card for me. Sign you want to go out to get the job done.
Yeah, no card. He covers a lot of ground. He plays well in that role, and I feel like you can play him in a couple different roles, which will benefit Arsenal. I think you guys can definitely be top 4 contenders this year with that addition. Yeah.
All right. I don't typically participate in this game, but I'm of course going to say no card. I like the way we handle business. we loaned Lucas Torreira to them, to Atletico, and they were kind of, playing hardball with us. So the fact that we came in, last 4 hours of the transfer window, straight to La Liga with the release clause, like showing our ruthlessness, not giving them a chance to kind of bring anybody else in, even though they got Torreira, who plays a similar position. I like the way we're moving. It seems like we got some money from the owner, who hasn't put in any money since they owned the team, since they took over fully. So, wishes for that. Hopefully, we can continue to see some success, and maybe in the winter we'll get a war and really set it off. So. So sticking with Arsenal though, for the last one, no card, yellow card, red card. Mesut Ozil pays for the Gunstoris mascot, pay the salary for as long as he's with Arsenal.
I might have to give a red card on that one. I thought that was kind of poor from Arsenal there to let him go after all those years. But good on Mesut to step up and take care of him. So we'll see if maybe the bad press makes Arsenal make a little decision and backtrack there. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like my card decision depends on like how long Mesut Ozil is going to be there for.
His contract expires next year or next season.
Yeah,
or at the end of the season or something like that.
Like, what? I guess it's like, what is Arsenal's plan after that? It's like we got to make a big decision. So I don't know. So I can't even give a proper card on that. I don't even know where I land on that.
Yeah, so I'll give a red card for our no card, play on advantage for Ozil. He's playing his cards right. Obviously, him and Arsenal are coming on bad terms right now, so he's milking it. This is a great publicity stunt that he's doing, gearing himself to the fans. This is a great case study for any players that are going through a difficult time with their club, of how to kind of stick it to your club without sticking it to them. So I love what Mesut did, and Arsenal, like, you can't pay for a mascot. What's going on?
All right, so let me get some context here, right? So the guy who played the mascot has other roles at Arsenal, and he was part of the 55 players 55 non-playing staff who were made redundant, who were put on furlough. So this news is coming out super late. Like, he's been not had a job, and so, and to that point, Ozil, with the money you're making on a weekly basis, not playing, not willing to take a pay cut like the rest of the players did, why couldn't you fund the rest of these people's salaries as well?
That's not his role. That's not his
role. Look, if he's gonna pay for his one guy's salary, why not pay for the other 54 people who were laid off? Why just him? Just because he was the Gunstoris at some point, as one of his roles at the club?
Yeah. It's not his job to do.
I mean, I definitely see the payness of it, but you gotta look. If you're gonna pay for one, you gotta pay for the rest of it. Like, go all the way in.
All
that. And this guy will probably be back once fans are back in stadium. He'll probably return.
Yeah. I love what Mesut did. I think it's hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it for no card, your card, red card for this week.
Okay, perfect. So, gentlemen, we really appreciate you guys coming on. Where can people find you? Where can they, support? How can they get involved? How can they connect with you guys? We really appreciate you guys coming on and sharing you guys' story, all the wonderful things that you're doing. But for the people that are listening, how can they support you and learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, thank you just one more time for giving us the opportunity to be here. Love chatting with you guys. You can check us out, pdxfc.com. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook as @PDX Football Club. You can check out the current WeFunder campaign if you're interested in looking more into becoming a part of the club. And that's wefunder.com/PDXFC. So you can definitely delve in there and do all the research on club. And, if anybody ever has any questions, My email is up on the website. Feel free to reach out to me, and I love to interact with people that are interested.
Yeah, we'll definitely have that link in the description. Whether you're audio or YouTube, it'll be in the description. So you guys can definitely check that out. Support the club, invest in the club, some ownership in the pro soccer team, or soon to be pro soccer team.
Yep. And again, thank you. It made my day when your guys' kind of involvement came through. So appreciate that very, very much.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, no problem, man. We're happy to be involved.
Yeah, happy to support. Except when you guys play Sacramento Gold, that's my home team. So I can't support. But other than that, yeah, you guys got my full support. I love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, we couldn't see them in the playoffs, hopefully.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My old coach is the kind of founder for that squad. So I'm biased. So sorry.
Deep
sorry. Yeah, but thanks again once again. That's it for our show. Subscribe, rate, and review. It helps us get discovered. Follow us on the socials at 2Cents FC. Check out our merch at 2centsports.shop. It helps support the show as well. As you can see, El's rocking the hat. Tweet us your comments on the show and any topics you need or El to discuss. Once again, we're going to have all PDX information, show notes, and like you guys know, every Friday, I'm biased. Catch you guys next week.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.
Later.